Hey everybody, and welcome to another Left Turn Workshop tutorial. Today I'm going to be talking about taking a CC4 character and bringing it into Unreal Engine 5, and we're going to set up our control rig for foot IK and do all sorts of retargeting and replace our third-person character with this character that you can kind of see on the screen. I'm calling her Entropy, and she will never see the light of day because unfortunately the clothing assets here are not available under an extended license. So this is for your eyes only, everybody. All right. Anyway, here we go. When I do the export, I'm going to set my target tool preset to Unreal. Okay. And these are mostly the default options. I am also going to add a couple of animations, okay, that I've already set up. This is the running, jogging, and an idle, as well as a sprint. I'm going to untick first frame and bind pose. I'm not going to take export mesh and motion individually. I'm going to basically export this all as one giant piece. I am going to delete hidden faces because I have hidden the legs underneath the pants, okay, because they're not really needed. And I am going to bake the diffuse and specular maps from the digital human hair shader because I find that it works a little bit better. Once you've got that, you can click on export, choose a place to save your file, and you should be good to go. Now, I have done that already, so I'm not going to bother. We're going to move right along into Unreal Engine. Okay. So here I have just created a new project. This is a simple, straightforward third-person project. Okay, so I've got the third-person character blueprint. If I hit play, Alt-P, I can now run around. And as you can see over here, right, the character's got some nice foot IK so that the foot goes to the correct position when they are leaning on something, right? And that is pretty cool. That is the effect that we want to make sure that we have for our character as well. So, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is basically create a new folder. I'm going to call this, let's call the game Entropy, okay? So that's the name of the character. Why not? I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call it Characters. Inside the Characters folder, let me just create one more folder. I'll call that Entropy. And this is where I'm going to bring in my character creator, my character creator character. All right. Now, in order to make everything work, though, what I need to do first is actually add the plugin, the auto setup plugin, okay, into this project. Okay. So the auto setup plugin is available from the Reallusion website, and if you double click on the installer and you install it, what happens is that in your program files, Reallusion, you can go down to shared plugins, auto setup, Unreal, auto setup 1.24 for Unreal 5, and that's where you will get your content and plugins folder. Select both of those. You'll Control C to copy. And what we're going to do now is actually find the location of our project, CC4 to Unreal. And all I'm going to do is paste this into the project. Okay, it's going to copy, copy, copy. Paste, paste, paste. Okay, and now it's here. I won't see it, though, until I restart. So I'm just going to save all, close out of this, and restart Unreal Engine. And here we go. And as you can see, we've now got our CC shaders folder here, and I'm going to go into my entropy folder, and this is where, I'm going to grab that FBX file that I just exported from CC4, drag it down here. I'm going to use the standard shader. I'm going to click on OK. And for the options here, what I'm going to do is leave the skeleton to none so that a new skeleton will be generated. I want to make sure that I'm using T0 as a reference pose, and I am going to import morph targets. Down here, I am going to import animations. I am going to import the animated time, and I am going to use the custom sample rate of 60 frames per second. Okay. Last but not least, I'm going to turn off creating materials. So I do not create materials and do not import textures. That's because the JSON file in produced by Character Creator 4 is going to handle that for me. So with those options ticked, I'm going to click on import and give it a second to process the files. Okay, so now I've got my character imported, and let's just take a look, make sure it's imported correctly. There's the character, got a little bit of movement on the hair. Okay, got that idle pose, and everything is looking pretty good, as expected. All right, so now one of the things that's going to help us out a lot here, okay, is that when we export from Character Creator 4, it's basically, when we use that Unreal preset, it is giving us a skeletal structure that is basically the same as the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin. And that's going to be a big help. All right. So let's go ahead and open up the skeleton of our Character Creator 4 character. Okay. And I'm going to go down to Asset Details, and I'm going to select a compatible skeleton. We're basically going to say, hey, this is the more or less the same skeleton as the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin skeleton. So I want to look at these, and I've got SK mannequin and SK mannequin skeleton. If you look at the information, you'll see that this last one, the SK mannequin skeleton, is actually the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin, and that's the one that this matches pretty well. So what I'm going to do is select that, make that a compatible skeleton. Then I can close that, make sure that I save this skeleton, and close that there. Now I'm going to go ahead and go over into my Unreal Engine, my mannequin, my UE4 mannequin. Go into the meshes, choose that mannequin skeleton, and I'm going to do the opposite thing here. I'm going to go down to Asset Details, and we're going to select for the compatible skeleton, the Character Creator 4 skeleton, the entropy skeleton that we were just editing. So now they're basically both compatible with one another. Okay. Now this is important because if we go down here in the characters mannequin UE4, we go down to rigs, and we'll see that there is an IK rig that is already set up for the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin. Now, what I'm going to do to save myself some time and make life a whole lot easier, I'm going to duplicate this. And what I'm going to do here is basically rename it. I'm going to call this IK entropy. Okay, and I'm going to create a new folder here in my character, and I'm going to call that rigs. I'm going to grab this rig that I just created, this entropy rig, and I'm going to move it right over there. Okay. Now, if I double click on this, you'll see that here is the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin, and that's not what I want. So what I'm going to do is go over to the preview mesh, and under the preview mesh, since we have the compatible skeletons, I can now select the entropy mesh. But you'll also see that the points here are all a bit off. And so in order to fix that, I'm just going to click on reset, and there we go. Now I'm going to save and close that, and that IK rig is now ready to go, which is pretty cool. And very, very helpful, because now what we can do is go ahead and create ourselves an IK retargeter. Okay. So basically what we want to do is get our animations from the, Unreal Engine 5 mannequin. And we can do that because we now have our own IK rig, our custom IK rig for entropy. So we're going to select here, okay, the IK mannequin IK rig. And you can see that that's coming from the mannequins rigs folder, not the UE4 rigs folder. Okay, so there we go. We're going to select that. And I'm just going to rename this. I'm going to call it RTG underscore UE5 underscore entropy. Okay. Now I can double click on this. Here is our regular mannequin. The target IK rig asset, I can set that to be entropy. Okay. And if I go over now, you'll kind of see that we're getting, some good stuff happening. Okay. But there are a couple of things that I need to change in order to make sure that the animation retargeting that we're going to do works the way we want it to, particularly with regard to root motion. So the first thing I'm going to do is select root in the target chain. I want to change that to globally scaled. Okay. Now I want to scroll down to all of these IK bones that are included with our character. And we're going to set all of those to absolute. Okay. So left foot, absolute. Right foot, IK, absolute. Here's our hand root. Oops, absolute. And gun IK, absolute. Right hand IK, absolute. And left hand IK, absolute. Okay, now we can save that. And we're more or less in business. Okay, so now if I wanted to do the animation transfer, I can do that. So I'm going to go into the characters folder, go into mannequins, animations, and here you can see that we have an animation blueprint for Manny, and we have an animation blueprint for Quinn. Now, Quinn here is actually a child blueprint of Manny. All right, so for this character, I actually want to make use of the Quinn animation blueprint. So what I'm going to do is right-click it, retarget the animation asset, duplicate and retarget animation blueprint. I'm going to select as my retargeter my UE5 to entropy. Okay. And I am going to change. Okay, I'm going to search for the word Quinn in the animation files and the animation blueprints. And I am going to replace Quinn with entropy, the name of the character. Now I'm going to create, I'm going to go into my entropy folder here, my character folder, create a new folder called animations, and create a subfolder, and I'm just going to call that UE5. Click on OK, click on retarget, and here we go. I've got all of the animations from the mannequin working pretty good. I've also got the animation blueprint directly set up for entropy. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is basically create a new folder in my main sort of game folder. Okay, and I'm going to call this blueprints. Okay, I'm going to shoot down to my third person character. And here I've got the blueprint for the third person character. I'm going to drag that over into blueprints, and I'm going to copy it. Okay. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to rename it. I'm going to rename it to be BP underscore player underscore base. And I am then going to create a child blueprint class that will be called player entropy. Okay. That's the one that I'm going to edit right now. Okay, the entropy character. So I'm going to take the mesh, okay, and I am going to change the mesh out for the entropy mesh. As you can see, she's in the just a typical A pose because we don't have the animation blueprint class specified. So I'm going to go up, ABP entropy. Okay, click on compile. I'm sorry, that was a bit weird. I had to close the blueprint and reopen it, but it's actually working fine. If I go over to the mesh, you see I've got the entropy mesh, and I've got the animation blueprint is set to the entropy blueprint that we had just created. Okay, click on compile, click on save. Now what I can do is go over to my, here in the world settings. Okay, I've got the game mode override is set to the third person game mode. And I'm just going to go and make sure that the character class is not set as it normally would be to the third person character. I want to go ahead and make sure that it is set to BP player entropy. Okay, now if I hit play, here's my character, and they are running. Okay. And the IK is working all right. Okay. But what we're going to do is actually go ahead and make sure that we don't end up with any problems whatsoever by creating a control rig as well. All right. So if I go into the animations, okay, and I look at the Manny parent blueprint, you'll see that over here, right, we've got the control rig and there is a warning. Okay. And the warning is because the character here is actually not correct. So if I go into details, for instance, you'll see that we're basically still using the mannequin control rig. What I want to do is basically create a control rig specifically for this character. And so I'm going to do that by going here where I've got the character mesh. Okay. I'm going to right click, create control rig. Okay. And let me just rename this. I'm going to call it CR underscore entropy foot IK. Okay. And I'm going to double click it to open it. And the only thing that's here is basically this forward solver. Okay. There's nothing actually happening inside the control rig yet. And what I'm going to do to make my life easier is, once again, we're going to steal. I love stealing. Whenever we can steal, it makes life easier. So I'm going to go into, so I'm going to scroll down here to the Unreal Engine characters folder, go down to the rigs. And as you can see, we've got the CR mannequin basic foot IK. And this is kind of what I want to steal. All right. So in order to do it, I want to first copy all of these variables. Okay. So I got the Z offset, target, and should do IK trace. I want to copy all of these. So I'm going to copy, go over to my entropy foot IK, and I'm just going to paste the variable. And I'm going to go back and forth and do this for all of them. Okay. Definitely not the most exciting part of the process here, but very, very important. So I'm copying, okay, pasting. Okay, so now I've got all my variables set up here. I can click on compile, and I'm looking good. I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to go ahead, and since I have the variables all set up now, I can just select all of this. I'm going to do Control C, okay, then come over here, and let's just do a Control V. And what it's telling me is that the control rig over here for the mannequin is making use of a function that has been set up. Do I want to actually create this function? And the answer is yes. So I'm going to click OK. All right. And now I can drag this over here. Okay. And I'm going to drag the execution pin to the sequence. And I should more or less be in business, with the exception, okay, that the capitalization is all wrong on the CC4 characters. So anywhere that I see these red names, I'm going to have to go in, and instead of IK foot capital L, let's just go and change that to IK foot L from the skeleton. IK foot R, IK foot R. Okay, let's look down here. These are all looking okay. Down here, I'm going to change that to IK foot L, IK foot R. Okay, the pelvis bone name is the same. But down here, IK foot L, IK foot R. Okay, now I can compile that. That bit is looking good. Let me go over into the foot trace, and I have no issues here. So we're all looking pretty good. Okay, so now that I've got my control rig for foot IK set up, I can go back to my animation blueprint here, the Manny blueprint. And here for the control rig, I'm just going to scroll down and replace that with my entropy foot IK rig. Click on compile, click on save, and ta-da, everything is working. Go back into my third person map. Let's hit play. Here's the character. Okay, I've got foot IK. Everything is looking great. Okay. And the character is working the way she should be. Now, One thing that I did do actually was export some animations. So if you wanted to, all right, now, if I wanted to begin changing those, I would go into the ABP, the animation blueprint for entropy. And since this is a child blueprint, I can basically go over here to the asset overrides, click down on locomotion and idle, and let's see, here I've got the entropy animation idle version A that that I had prepared in iClone. So I select that, click on compile, and now she's doing the animation that I had already set up. Okay, so if I were to hit play, here we go. There's the character, and she does that idle. Okay. And I can adjust the blend spaces as well, the same way for walking and running and what have you. But there you go. That is basically how you can go about setting up your character. That's a quick way to create the IK rig. That is the quickest way that I know of to create the control rig for controlling the foot IK. That's how you can do your retargeting and get your character up and running around as quickly as humanly possible. All right, so I hope you found that useful. If you liked it, please, click like, subscribe, and I will talk to you very soon. Thank you very much for joining me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.